Welcome to this practice session, everybody. I'd like to invoke Lord Shiva and Shakti as well in equal measure to guide this whole process. The real process is happening irrespective of what's shared here, but the sharing can just keep us more attuned, more open. So you're welcome to be a part of this to the extent you're finding it supportive and helpful. And if silence is even more helpful, then go with silence. I'm not sure how long this session will go. It'll go for as long as it needs to go. I initially thought that we will explore the teachings of Kashmir Shaivism and the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, the many meditations there. However, I was inwardly guided to not rely on any other materials, just to be completely open to the guidance that's coming through. Like Lord Shiva said, let's do it afresh. No need to rely on anything else. Everyone has direct connection. No need to go through a scripture. Let's make it more intimate. And that felt right. It feels right. There is no boundary or limit to the teaching that's going to come through, which means there's no taboo. That's one thing about Shiva, you can be sure there's no taboo. This can go anywhere. So if you're faint-hearted, just be warned. Also, I was tuning in and wondering, Lord Shiva, should we have an age limit? And he laughed and said, age is just a man-made thing. Anybody is drawn to be on this call, they're meant to be on this call. And so whatever's going to come through is going to come through. It doesn't matter what your age is. It doesn't matter if you're exposed to Indian tradition or not, whether you're a long-time devotee of Shiva or not. It's far more immediate. It's far more direct. So if you're here, then just be here for as long as you need to be here. So invoking, inviting the Shiva principle and the Shakti principle to show up, reveal themselves as themselves. At least this day, this night of the year, to not play hide and seek, to reveal themselves, reveal their true form, their true formless form. What that means will be understood in many layers, in many facets, in many dimensions. What's coming through today is not philosophy, it's not religion, it's an activation. It's a knocking to wake up what's latent inside of you. Wake up, wake up. You've slept long enough. I got the image of a moth flying into a flame. Makes no sense. Why would nature do that? Makes complete sense. Something in us is drawn to the burning. That's what's drawn you here tonight. And the burning is not the problem. The burning is not the problem. Let's burn more completely. No residue. At this point, I'd like to surrender even more deeply to the Shiva and Shakti principle. I'd like Nithya Shanti to make an exit, and just the Shiva and Shakti principle to do whatever they need to do, say whatever they need to say. For the rest of this night. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyamamritat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyamamritat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiyamamritat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormokshiyamamritat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiv Bandhanan Mrityormokshimamrita. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiv Bandhanan Mrityormokshimamrita. Bring your attention to your third eye between both the eyebrows. You will receive in direct proportion to your asking. No one gets any more or any less. So raise the intensity of your earnestness if you want to receive more. You receive in direct proportion to your asking. Asking what? For the taste of your true nature. How badly do you want to taste it? You can't do this night wrong. You can't do this practice wrong. When you think you're doing it most wrong is when you're exactly where you need to be. You can't do this wrong. It's quite hilarious that some of you don't feel worthy. Are you waiting for the next instruction? Are you turning your attention outward again? The instruction is a support, not the mainstay. Keep your attention inward. Keep diving deeper and deeper into the natural stillness that you can all sense. That's the river that's going to carry you. Any kind of flow of sensation, flow of sound, flow of thought, become attentive to any kind of flow, not as an idea. Feel the flow, become the flow. Become the sound. Become the feeling. Come closer. Can you experience this flow even more clearly? Anything that's flowing is Shakti. Manifestation. So don't just be aware of the flow. See it as a sacred flow, a holy flow, a divine flow. Does not require your permission, does not require your understanding, does not require your validation. It's a holy flow. It's a sacred flow. It's a divine flow. It's not waiting for you, but you've been waiting for it to see it for what it really is. Any kind of flow is Shakti, the divine flow. Even if it's unpleasant, even if you don't understand it, doesn't matter. Any kind of flow is Shakti. That which knows the flow, that which is conscious of the flow, is Shiva. You don't know it, Shiva knows it. Who are you? Shiva is knowing this. Any experience is Shakti. That which knows the experience is Shiva. So that's the main instruction for today. Experience flow, experience change, flow. Any kind of flow is Shakti. Any kind of awareness of this flow is Shiva. And Shiva wants to merge with Shakti tonight. Energy and consciousness are not two. Not two. In the moment of experience, also recognize the sky like awareness. There's just a stream that's drawing you in deeper and deeper. Stream of attention. So it's neither sleep nor anything else. It's just presence. Every time you dive into the field of experience, every time you recognize that the one who's aware of the diving, the one who's aware of this diving, is also not you. It's just consciousness. Each time you do this kind of deep dive, you emerge having lost and having gained, lost some edges of the false self, the imaginary self, and expanded and grown into the great mystery that is Shiva. Each time you're willing to lean into this, each time you're willing to be impacted by what's arising in the present, outside, inside, doesn't matter. Each time you're willing to lean into this at the cost of everything. Each such moment you emerge lighter, lighter from carrying an imaginary load. Every time you directly confront your present experience, they are actually your feet are actually naturally on firm ground. You discover your invincibility. Every time you're willing to be impacted deeply, to the extent that you might lose yourself, you might die in that precise moment. You experience your own invincibility. Take a few deeper breaths if you like. So that right there is one of the summaries of Lord Shiva's teaching. Experience flow. Trust that flow. Honor that flow. Know that flow to be divine, even if your whole brain is saying nothing divine about this, still divine. And then notice awareness of the flow. Instead of losing track of awareness, be aware of the flow, which is Shiva. Don't compare yourself or blame yourself with how aware you are. Shiva in maximum expansion is this universe. Shiva in maximum expansion is this universe. Along with maximum expansion comes maximum contraction. Contraction of what? The forgetfulness that we are Shiva. The more objects of mind and sensory experience you have, the more expanded you are and the more contracted you are. Contracted. Shiva's nature got contracted. So if there is contraction, there is forgetfulness. That's also Shiva's will. Shiva chooses to forget. That is also divine. That is also exactly the way it needs to be. All your complications have come from trying to control the flow or trying to control the one who is aware of the flow. And that right there is your suffering. Today is a good day to stop this silly judging of yourself, because Shiva has chosen to forget. And if you do forget, that's also all right. Shiva has again chosen to forget. Can you be free of the anxiety of non perfection? Any experience at all is equally valid for what we're learning here, because any experience contains flow, any experience requires awareness, consciousness. As you see the flow as divine, sublime, exactly the way it should be, as you see the consciousness that knows as also divine, also sublime, exactly the way it should be. And as you see that the flow and that which knows the flow are not separate, flow depends on consciousness, consciousness depends on flow. That's the whole work right there. There is no experience in the entire universe that is now invalid. Every experience is a valid path to who you really are, which is as you really are now. It's a path with no time, no location, nowhere to go. Just like an ant, just like an ant would struggle to conceive of human intelligence, human consciousness. You are like that ant trying to conceive Param Shiva, the widest, most expansive, truest form of Shiva. You're like an ant. The essence of this consciousness is silence. The essence of this flow is love, loving silence, silence loving, loving silence, silence loving. It's like an ant trying to conceive what it's like to be a human. You are trying to conceive what it's like to be Shiva. Shiva is very impressed, very impressed, very impressed. How brave. So increase the intensity of love to meet the challenge of death. Increase the intensity of love to meet the challenge of death. Raise the intensity of your love to meet the challenge of death. Keep practicing. In case you need to take a break, trust yourself. Take a break when you need to take a break. Keep practicing. Trust yourself. Trust the Shiva and Shakti that are playing this game of hide and seek has you, Shiva, Shakti, and Nara. You are the Nara, the person, the being, personality. All movement, all flow, all fluctuation, all manifestation. That's Shakti. That which knows the Shakti is Shiva. Shiva and Shakti and Nara, all three are equally valid. Equally valid. Don't try to be one more than the other. So if you need to take a little break, go to the restroom, drink water, that also pleases Shiva and Shakti. Because even the Nara is actually divine, completely sacred, completely divine, completely sacred, completely divine. Nothing's out of place here. Complete curriculum for life. No change. Know that which knows change. See how they're not really separate. If you need a short break, you can take a short break. I want to play a little bit of my UFO drum. Even attachment to deep samadhi states is something to watch out for. What if the deepest possible samadhi state, samadhi, for those of you who are not familiar with the word, is like a state of unification? What if the deepest possible samadhi state is not in any way better than the most ordinary, divergent, dispersed, distracted state? What if? What is that samadhi which does not even fall for that polarity, for that distinction. What is that Nithya Shanti, Nithya, unchanging, unshakable peace, which does not even depend on Samadhi? Wonderful to have Samadhi. Wonderful to not have Samadhi. Wonderful to have a deep meditation. Wonderful to have a distracted meditation. Why? That's what Shiva wants. Shiva wants to forget. So then let Shiva forget. And when Shiva wants to remember, Shiva will remember. What's it like to have that kind of trust and faith? What happens to fear now? What happens when you don't even have fear of fear anymore? Fear is also welcome. Are you still imagining that there is some experience that's going to fulfill you? Cannot. Because you are already fulfilled. The idea that something will fulfill you is where you just miss the point. Water does not need quenching. You are the water. Stop looking for ways to quench yourself. But if you want to look, that's also fine. This is the most elaborate game of hide and seek ever invented. Shiva recommends not trying to resolve the game. Shiva recommends dissolving the whole game. Don't resolve it, dissolve it. How do you dissolve it? You see the game as a game. So if Shiva wants to forget this recognition of flow and recognition of that which knows the flow and the unity of both, then so be it. And when Shiva wants to remember, it's always available. This truth is not demanding that you learn it, that you write books about it, that you preach it. This truth does not need to be protected. This truth needs to be entered.
entered. Nothing less than that will satisfy, and nothing more than that is needed. Shiva says this is a prison you're in, and every part of the prison is made up of the keys that will free you. This prison is made of keys to free you, which is the biggest joke of all. Those of you who have more complicated minds will be attracted to more complicated teachings, and that's all right. Those of you who have more straight minds, the slightest nudge is enough. The slightest nudge is enough. And a simple mind is not better than a complicated mind. That's also all right. Disease of comparison is unnecessary. If you want to find a path, then go looking. Where in this universe is something that is not Shakti, that is not Shiva, that is not flow, that is not consciousness awareness? Where can you find it? What is it? Go looking. Look within yourself. A good one is your fear. What are you afraid to look at? What are you afraid to look at? That's a really good one. Because that's what you're convinced. This is not Shakti. This is not Shiva. This is anything but Shakti and Shiva. But does that not also have a characteristic of arising and passing, coming and going? Is that not part of manifestation? And if it's part of manifestation, it's one of the forms of Shakti. Maybe it's a more fierce form of Shakti, but Shakti nevertheless. The more fierce, the more compassionate. When your mother screams at you, that is the greatest intensity of her love. She'll not take your nonsense anymore. So the more intense, the more compassionate, the more loving, even though that's not how you may understand it or receive it. But this is absolutely true. Absolutely true. So, where in this world, inside, outside, is anything that is not Shakti, not Shiva? That's a good one. And that's the hide and seek game. And Shiva hides and says, will you see me here? Will you see me here? Will you recognize me here? And then when you fall for it, Shiva is very delighted. Ah, got you. Got you. So your loss is Shiva's gain. So that's also not a problem. Don't have to be so fixated. Your human failings, so called failings, human limitations, so called limitations, are demanding to be seen in this light. They've been waiting to be seen in this light. All your ancestors missed it, unfortunately, or fortunately. They all missed it, and their hopes are high for you. Despite all the scriptures and all the rituals and all the pilgrimages, they still missed it. So their hopes are on you. So now, when that shame comes up, that guilt comes up, and that anxiety comes up, first of all, know it didn't begin with you. This is an ancient story told in many different ways. And if you can just not see it as personal, this guilt is not personal, this laziness is not personal, this insecurity is not personal, this hoarding, selfishness, stickiness is not personal, this jealousy is not personal. I've just entered a room which was entered by all my ancestors, and I have another chance to see this Shiva and Shakti, the dance of creation and the dancer. And the dance and dancer are not two. In that moment, I have repaid the debt of all my ancestors, and they celebrate and they rejoice. What we couldn't do, you have done at last. So this completely changes the whole game, isn't it? What you were calling your failings, your limitations, have become the most exciting part of the day. The laziness, the shame, the dread, the anxiety, the you name it. You're entering an ancient Rome. All your ancestors have walked here. All of humanity has walked here. And they drank the forgetfulness potion and they judged. They judged themselves. They judged this room. They don't want to be in this room, but they're in this room. They want to get out of this room. It's not to be resolved, it's to be dissolved. It's not 100 ways to come out of anger or fear. It's to see this also as Shiva and Shakti, manifestation, and that which knows a manifestation. So it's a celebration. It's a celebration. Any state, no matter what you name it, no matter what you think of it, any state, even the so called pleasant, positive states, which build up pride when not seen with clarity, proud of how positive you are, proud of how inspiring you are, proud of how eloquent you are, proud of how giving and what a good healer you are. Shiva and Shakti. Every time you recognize Shiva and Shakti, your journey as a Nara, as a being, is filled with grace, filled with bliss. Every time you forget, welcome to hell. Sometimes it looks sweet, this hell. It's still hell. Whether you're tied with soft, silken, golden ropes, or you're tied with old, rotten, smelly, rusty chains, you're still tied. Don't resolve it, dissolve it. How do you dissolve it? You recognize the flow. Ah, that's Shakti. Flow of sound, flow of smell, flow of thought. It's happening by itself. It's happening by itself. And something is knowing it. Something just is aware of it. That's also happening by itself. Happening by itself. And they're not two. If you're here right now on this call or the recording. It's not an accident. This kind of massive cheat code is very rarely given. You can unravel the entire matrix with this. In the beginning, it's confusing. What is it about? What's going on? Don't get it. In the, in the beginning, it's confounding. And you persist. And that ancient memory starts to arise. Like, I actually know this. It's not as alien as I imagined. This is actually quite familiar. And you keep going until it's absolutely unshakable. And you've completely turned the whole equation around. You now look forward to what you once resisted. Bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on. Let's frustrate this ego thoroughly. It's a cute ego, but pretty misguided. Let's enter all these rooms, these states of being, which we have judged one way or the other as good or bad. And let's cut through that. Let's look past that. It's just a flow. It's an arising and a passing. Something's conscious of it. And that which knows and that which is known, what's the gap in between? Is it 1 millimeter? Is it 100 miles? Is there a gap? Is there a gap? Check. What is the gap between the dancer and the dance? We really must find out today. What is the gap between the movie and the screen? We really must find out today. What is the gap between you and your life? We really must find out today. We really must find out today. What is the gap between the reflection and the mirror? The cloud and the sky? What is the gap? What has meaning without its opposite? When you say tall, you imply short, isn't it? Without short, there's no tall. When you say wise, you imply foolish, isn't it? Without foolish, there's no wise. When you say bound, you imply some kind of freedom, and the other way around. But isn't free and bound two ends of the same stick? Tall and short, two ends of the same stick. Hot and cold, two ends of the same stick. Saint and sinner, two ends of the same stick. What's the distance between tall and short? Hot and cold, wise and foolish? Is there a distance? And if there's not a distance, then why are we complicating our whole life so much? What's the distance between life and death? Is there a distance? Is there really a distance? How much is that distance? When you fear your life, you will fear death. You love your life, you will love death. You have to be willing to be ripped and stripped of all this baggage you've collected, including in the name of Shiva's teachings. You have to be ripped and stripped of it. And you're not going to enjoy it always. And that's good. Welcome that. It's going to happen anyway. It'll be a little easier if you trust and you welcome. That's all. going to be a structural change in your thinking process as you go through this experience. You may not realize it, you may not understand it. It's going to be a permanent structural change. Like we're activating a different body, a light body, a larger body. Larger not in size, larger in capacity. Capacity to tolerate polarity, opposites. And that's needed for the full extent of your blueprint to be revealed. In your tolerance of polarity, opposites, the full extent of your capacity will blossom. Actually, each one of us is a baby Shiva awakening, falling in love with our Shakti, our work in this world. As Shiva, we're already complete. And yet, there is a tremendous love for this forever incomplete Shakti, which is also complete in its incompleteness. Catch yourself saying, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. And just see the joke in that. You're not there yet? Where is there? Has anyone reached there? And having reached, have they stayed there? What is this there that you come up with in every aspect of your life? I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. And it's all right if you really want to play that game. It's not the best game in town. You can play it if you like. Just know that it's an option. So baby Shiva is no less potent than Param Shiva. If anything, baby Shiva is more potent. We all know how the child of the house has far more influence than anybody else in the house. Discover and uncover the absolute gift in your inadequacies. The absolute gift, not just one or two gifts. Discover 100 gifts in each of your inadequacies. If you really want to awaken your full potential. Stop referring to your qualities as good and bad qualities. Just refer to them as settings. Settings. Each avatar has a setting designed for a particular role. So you have a certain setting for empathy, a certain setting for ability to tolerate physical pain, setting for how truthful you are, a certain setting for how much rest and sleep you need, how much reassurance you need. These are all settings. Nothing's out of place. And when you see these as settings, you stop fighting with them so much. You stop reading self help books from people with different settings, hoping that your setting will improve. No mistake with your settings. Everyone you've ever admired, ever loved, made their peace with their settings. Is it not so? You purify the live stream by being aware of flow, any kind of flow, flow of sound, flow of breath, flow of heartbeat, flow of sensation in your palms, soles of your feet, flow of any kind of emotional state, mental state, thoughts, memories. Remember that if it's an experience, it's a flow. Remember that a mountain is a slow wave. A mountain is a slow wave. There is no experience that is not a flow. But you need to see it as a flow. Otherwise, you get lost in a label. Oh, that's a tree. Oh, that's a man. Oh, that's a bicycle. No, that tree is a flow. Man is a flow. That bicycle is a flow. No, it is that. This flow is emerging from seeming nothingness, and returning to seeming nothingness. If it comes from nothing and goes to nothing, then why are we hankering so much in between? What's up? Everyone that you're so attached to came from that sperm and egg. And where did that sperm and egg come from? It came from nothingness. Everyone that you're so attached to is going to get buried or cremated. And then what will happen? Back to nothingness. How many times are we going to fall for the same old thing. You can interrupt that right now by seeing it as a flow. It's a flow. It's not a person, it's a flow. It's not a tree, it's a flow. Not the word flow, the experience flow, the knowing flow. Don't just watch the flow, touch the flow, enter the flow, become the flow. Flow as and with the flow. Merge, merge. This is not philosophy, this is very real. This is very available. And that which knows this flow is like turning attention back to its source. We don't do this to get an answer. We do this to dissolve the questioner. Your body and mind is going to get completely rejigged, realigned, reset to a point where you're incapable of generating karma. Everything you say and do is pure dharma. Incapable of creating karma. Even if you were to kill someone, that would be dharma. That would be dharma. It'll be the most beautiful killing ever. Like Rama killing Ravana. Liberation. Because you're not killing a person. You're killing an illusion. Most compassionate thing ever. So the whole life force changes from karma to karuna. Karma means caught up in the linear illusion of cause and effect. Cause and effect. Karuna slashes right through, cuts right through, breaks this imaginary idea of cause and effect, releases you from the stranglehold, doesn't resolve your karma, dissolves your karma. You don't need a resolution of your dream, dissolution of your dream. Karuna means compassion. What kind of compassion? Remember who you really are. Remember what this really is. Remember that even when you can't remember, that's okay. Nothing's out of place. Hmm. And some of you have asked questions, and know that the question arose from a flow of thoughts, flow of sensation, and something new. Oh, there is this thought. Oh, there is this lack of clarity. Don't look for a resolution to your question, because that will lead to more questions. What would it take to dissolve the question? The word question contains the word quest. There's a quest. And the quest is exactly this: what's flowing and what's knowing. And is there any gap between the flowing and the knowing? That's the only question you need to answer. Is there a gap? Can I find a gap between the flowing and the knowing? If yes, how big is that gap? Can you feel it? This is how questions get dissolved. Instead of looking for an answer, go straight to the source. Answer the second hand. Enough of this boring game of seeking answers. Go straight to source. Such a lot of beautiful unburdening is going to happen. It's already happening. The best gift you can give yourself is to decide to enjoy this, irrespective of whether it feels enjoyable or not. Just decide to enjoy it. Good medicine. This is good medicine. This is Ashirvad. This is Prasad. This is the nectar I've been seeking. Vishuddhi Rasa, the taste of purification. Nothing in the world can match this. Right now, it might seem ordinary to you. All beings in all dimensions are in awe of you. They're completely in awe of you. You don't recognize how close you are. We imagine things have a beginning and an ending. A beginning and an ending. Like the sentence began and it came to an end. So that's our normal experience. Life and death, beginning and ending. Lunch began, came to an end. Dinner began, came to an end. This began, that began, came to an end. And that is the illusion. Recognize it's a thought. That's not your reality. You superimpose an idea of beginning and ending. It's a thought. In your experience, they happen simultaneously. Simultaneously. This is how you cut through the illusion. Birth and death happen simultaneously. Arising and passing happen simultaneously. Beginning and ending happen simultaneously. They are one stick, not two. Beginning implies ending. Ending depends on beginning. They are one stick, not two. All these preconditions, some of you are putting, oh, this is hard to realize. Oh, it'll take years of practice. Oh, I've never meditated. Oh, I have a distracted mind. Just another thought. Just another feeling. That's all it is. No reality there. The simplest thing in the world. You can be done right now, or you can wait another billion years. And guess what? Doesn't matter to Shiva. Can you have the audacity to honor your settings, whatever they are? Don't let any human tell you that the settings Shiva has given you are wrong. So be as lazy as you are, be as miserable as you are, be as hectic as you are. Be as vulnerable and broken as you are. And drop the words. Words aren't required. And now that you have taken away the gap of how you should be, would be, could be, you just have an experience. This experience is a flow of thought and sensation. Something is knowing this flow of thought and sensation. Is there a gap between the knowing and the flowing? The flowing is Shakti, creation, the divine feminine, and the knowing is Shiva, the divine masculine. And is there a gap between the flowing and the knowing? And right there you realize that your entire prison was built, or the keys that free you from the prison. This is the paradox of this world. This is the biggest joke. After all your games, all your sadhanas, all your tirth yatras, pilgrimages, all your donations, all the ashrams you build, conscious communities you create, affiliations you have, certifications you get, you better come back to your original settings. And love the living daylights out of them. Because if you don't do that, no matter how many certifications you get, no matter how many Nobel Prizes you receive, you'll have this doubt inside of you. But what if it comes back? What if I lose this? What if I go back to that? So heal the root. How do you heal the root? You return to the root. You become the root. What is the root? Your original settings. Uncontrived, unabashed, uninclined to impress, not interested in performance, just in presence. Do you have that audacity? Tonight is a night to give you the gift of the setting of audacity, if you're willing to receive it. What a great setting to have, audacity. If you need to take a short break, you can. I decided to reduce the light so you can brighten your inner light. So notice any kind of change, any kind of change. I mean, anywhere you look, there's change. Because this whole structure is based on change. And it's true that the only thing not changing is change itself. So notice any kind of change, even if it's a changing from pleasant towards unpleasant, that's also fine. So there's something changing. Then of course something knows this is changing. What is this knowing? And is there a gap between the knowing and the changing? This is not something you have to think about. It's something you have to investigate. Because maybe, just maybe, you have put yourself into a prison which doesn't even have a door. And that's a bit ridiculous. That's really ridiculous. You know, the thought that you're most afraid of, that experience you're most afraid of, that old age with broken teeth you're most afraid of, that losing everything you're most afraid of, losing your health, whatever it is you're most afraid of, losing your beloved reputation, which is by itself a big fantasy. All of those are just a flow. Each one of those things is a flow, if you look carefully. And something knows that flow. It's not even like there's something that knows the flow. There is just a knowing. So instead of the usual trajectory, which is I hope this flow gets smoother, better, and nicer. I hope the pleasant parts of this flow stay forever and the unpleasant parts just completely get washed away. Best of luck with that. Best of luck with that. That all these cycles complete themselves without spinning them off into new cycles. If you pay careful attention, you'll understand what this is. Not at a mental level, at an intuitive level. That's the opportunity of this night, that you get it intuitively. Once you get it, everything else will catch up. The intellect will catch up, the emotions will catch up. Your entire spiritual worldview will catch up. Let it catch up. Don't go the slow way. I'll first understand it, then I'll feel it, then I'll live it. Don't go the slow way. Go the straight way. Go to the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is it's all a flow. It's all a flow. It's a divine flow. It's the mother goddess. It's Shakti. It's her will. Let thy will be done. Let thy will be done. You know what? She's going to do it so much better than you. So much better than you. Just trust her. Women have an innate ability to organize things. Let her organize. She'll organize this life far better than you. So let Shakti organize itself, herself. Stop interfering. It's like in the middle of the operation, you're asking the doctor, is it going well? The doctor says, shut up. Let these cycles complete themselves without interfering. Notice change, notice flow. Notice that which knows the change, knows the flow. That's Shiva. That's the Divine Father. Don't interfere with these two. Let the Nara or the individual come into alignment, become a devotee of Shiva and Shakti, a devotee of consciousness and the contents of consciousness. In that process, the Nara becomes transparent, the individual becomes transparent. Everything gets unlocked. Outwardly, you may look the same, do similar things, have similar settings. Outwardly, you may still get irritated, still get a little preoccupied. Inwardly, it's a whole other matter. Quenched, quenched, quenched. If you're still here on this call, if you're watching a recording, in this moment, would you like to wholeheartedly receive the blessing of being quenched, quenched, thoroughly quenched, quenched beyond quenched, of this ancient primal thirst longing, longing for yourself, longing for what you never lost, actually, longing for belonging. May each one of you be quenched. You will be quenched. Why? Because you are quenched. You've just forgotten. Massive upgrade happening at every level of your being. Just by being here. Nothing has to be done. You may not understand much of what I'm saying. You don't have to. Because my operating assumption, operating intention, is that beings receive an incorruptible seed. Um, Shakti is going to give you this gift of tasting the stories that people tell. Just like you taste food, you can tell what is more or less delicious. You can tell salt levels, spice levels. So Shakti is going to give you this gift. As you tune into flow, you'll have this gift of anytime someone speaks, or even if they don't speak, it's evident by the way they live. You get a chance to taste the stories they tell. And if there's an invitation, or if there's an interest, or if there's an opening, if it's required, and if it's meant to be, then you will share how that story could be upgraded. Maybe you'll describe it differently to them. It'll not even happen with too much thought, it'll happen very intuitively. Be a master storyteller when it comes to your family, the stories you all tell of the family, as an organization, as a collective, as a community, as humanity, the stories we tell, the stories we tell. Who am I without that story? Who am I with a different story? Whatever I'm believing now, is that true? Am I really sure it's true? happens to me when I believe that thought. Oh my, I didn't expect this. Then who am I without this thought? So Shakti gives you the gift of being a master storyteller. Receive it if you like by inwardly saying, Aho, Aho, yes. And Shiva gives you a gift of seeing through, seeing clearly, seeing beyond masks and roles and responsibilities, seeing naked, seeing naked, seeing the agendas, seeing the distortions. And in that seeing itself, there's an alchemy. Nothing has to be done. You just saw it so clearly. If you want to say, you can, but you don't have to. But it's the act of seeing is transformational. And these are just the two major gifts. There are countless minor gifts that are here waiting. Major gift of being a master storyteller. The major gift of abiding in presence. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namah. 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya Shivaya Namah Om Om Namah Shivaya Shivaya Namah Om. Om. All those who come into my field receive an incorruptible seed of awakening. All those who come into my field receive an incorruptible seed of awakening. All those who enter my field receive an incorruptible seed of awakening. And if you like that idea, may it be true for you as well. Very nice, everybody. Very nice, very nice. So with that, I am feeling pretty complete for tonight. Can continue. Those of you who have the energy to go through the night, brilliant. Keep going. And just know that whether or not you understood today's session, just the fact that you were here with us, whether or not you were fully attentive or not, a certain transmission has happened, a certain transformation has also happened. It may not be instantly evident, but it has happened. A restructuring has happened. Powerful seeds have been planted in the bedrock of your consciousness, and they will stream forth with abundant, abundant fruit at the right time for the highest benefit of countless beings and non-beings. Enjoy your journey. Enjoy your journey. Enjoy your journey to the place that you never left, actually. This is the paradox. Enjoy your journey, which is from here to here. Let everything be your teacher. Don't just wait for Shivratri to see everything as Shiva and Shakti. If you forget, that's all right. Shiva wants to forget. If you remember, that's all right. Shiva wants to remember. You can't do this wrong, you know. Because time is seen to be an illusion. So the longer it takes, the more impressed Shiva is with his hiding skills. The shorter it takes. That's also fun. Game over. Many powerful structures of thought have been challenged and new structures have been offered. This is not Nithya Shanti. This is a direct asking for Shiva to step in, Shakti to step in, and do what needs to be done. I don't have much in this moment conscious memory of the things I've said. A little bit is there. It's all right. So it was in response to each one of you who happened to join this call tonight. and whoever happens to watch the recording at any time. What's the last thing that we should say? Shiva is hiding in the places you judge. Shiva is hiding in the parts of you that you judge. Shiva is hiding in the people you judge. Let your judgment be your ladder, be your pathway to Shiva. Let your judgment, which is nothing but the play of Shakti, be your ladder back to Shiva. What you're seeking, you already are, especially when it seems otherwise. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. Infinite blessings. All right, be well, everyone. Proud of you. Good fun. Good fun. Great. Ciao.